Hello, I'm Dr. John with Voyage Clinics Podcast. I'm a family physician, and our mission with this podcast is just to educate the community. Today, I have a sweet guest, Marilyn Sorensen, with me today, and I just want to kind of highlight you, Marilyn, and kind of talk to you a little bit and get to know you better myself, but also maybe the community can get to know you better too. So Marilyn is a nurse practitioner, family nurse practitioner. You've been doing this for a while. How long have you been a family nurse practitioner?
You don't want to know.
100 years at least.
Well, let's see, 43.
Yeah.
Not all full-time when my kids were little. I worked part-time, just enough to keep my license current. And when they grew up, then I added more hours. Okay,
cool. I want to hear about your journey into medicine. And you and I met when I moved here from Moab. I was country docking out in Moab, and I moved here. My wife wanted to go to law school to do a JD MBA at BYU, which she did. And we met at Revere, and I thought, no, there's a person that I really like. And it was super neat. We just we got to hang out here and there, and it was great. And then our roads kind of bifurcated as I left Revere and you left Revere, and we kind of did some things, other things. And then our roads crossed a few more times. And then I'm just really excited because you've just recently kind of decided to join the Voyage Clinics team. And that's really exciting for me. And I want to kind of highlight you a little bit. And so why don't you tell us about who is this Marilyn Sorensen? Tell us about your journey, your life, and, all that.
Okay. Well, first I was born at Hill Air Force Base. So my dad was in the Air Force.
Okay.
He's in the military. So Hill Air Force Base is in Kaysville, Utah.
Let's go.
So I was born there, and we moved around different places in the States, and we were in Germany twice. I went to high school in Berlin, Germany.
No way.
Yeah.
Do you
the wall was
Deutsch?
up. Some, yeah.
Okay.
I learned Spanish in the meantime, so
you did.
I speak more Spanish than German. But we lived there when the wall was up, so that was a while ago. But my dad was the commander of Tempelhof Air Base for the Air Force, and so I went to high school there. And when it was time to go to college, I was trying to decide between two majors, so music and nursing, because I thought nursing is practical. I can help a lot of people, but I really like music because I played the piano and the clarinet, and I did a lot of music in high school and sang in the choir. So I looked at that time. We had books, catalogs. I've read through the whole thing and looked at all the majors that they had at BYU because I was applying there. Mm-hmm. And so I specifically narrowed it down to music and to nursing.
Okay.
So nursing required a car in the undergraduate because we had to go to Salt Lake to go to clinicals. And I didn't have a car, and my parents lived in Berlin, and I didn't see how I was going to get a car, so I chose music. And cool. So I was in music for about a year and a half, and did all the theory and things. And
that's a tough major. At UNLV, my undergrad, the opposite of BYU, Las Vegas, two of my suite mates were music majors, and those guys, man, work. It's a lot of work. Yeah. Two of my roomies were engineering majors, and I think the music majors worked harder. Actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of practicing, but a couple little clues that got me more into nursing. One was I had a friend in a music theory class, and we had an assignment. They gave us 2 weeks. We had an assignment to write a musical composition, and it was due. I did clarinet and piano duet, and my friend the night before, I asked him, "How's your composition?" And he said, "Oh, I haven't started it." And so we performed them the next day, and mine was fine. Nothing special. And he got up there, and it was like a 4-hand piano duet. It's like, you did that overnight? And so that was kind of like, okay. And then later I was in music composition class for choral music. And just one day I just looked out the window and I just thought, what am I doing in here? I was going to teach piano lessons, but I thought, well, maybe I'll look into nursing, maybe that's a better fit for me.
Yeah.
I, still like music, but those kind of things kind of led me. So I went into the nursing program at BYU, and I got my bachelor's degree, and then I was working. And one thing that made me kind of want to go on was I liked clinic better than the hospital. Mm-hmm. And at that time, my sister-in-law, her husband died of kidney cancer, and he was only 35. And I thought, gee, if that happened to my husband, I want to be able to, have a good thing to fall back on. And so I decided to go into the nurse practitioner program.
Okay.
So I did that and worked at several places after that.
Yeah. Well, that's super cool. It's neat how much I'm a musician as well. I love music, and not classically trained like you are or my wife is. You guys are both, classically trained pianists and stuff. I'm from a mining town in Nevada, and we just sat around the campfire singing all these old mining songs. And so I'm a guitar player, a singer, and that's my thing. But what's really neat is that I think there's a lot of art in medicine, and I'd love to hear kind of your thoughts there too, like how music has kind of blessed your career and been a complement to your career in nursing. Can you speak to some of that? Just come a little closer to the mic too, because that'd be good.
I think music is healing, and I looked into musical, like physical therapy for a little bit, but I decided to do nursing. But I think music is healing and soothing, and so I think it helps heal.
When I worked in hospice, there was a person who played, I think it was the harp, and she would come and play for people during some of those more intense moments of their dying process. And I asked her once, about it, and it was fascinating, like the families and the blessings and the joy that brought to them, and the peace in that very intense time. Mm-hmm. And she told me she would play non-rhythmic stuff, and I was like, well, I don't know, what do you mean? So she showed me, and it was super interesting. And she said there's some data and some research on how this kind of helps in that process. And I thought, wow, it literally is healing at that time, intense moment of life, for sure.
And I think, if you're around a loved one that's passing away, you sing songs that they love.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
We did that with my dad.
Did you? Oh, yeah. I want to hear about your dad a little bit. Before I go there, though, I want to tell you a fun story. When I was in Moab, I delivered a lot of babies, and I didn't know I was doing this, but I didn't know until a few years of being in Moab. And one of the people that asked me to deliver their baby said, "No, you're the singing doctor." and I guess in the community it had gotten out that during delivery I would often hum or just kind of hum or sing songs, and I didn't even realize I was doing this. But it was calming. It was calming to me, to the baby, to mama, and that whole process. And it was just some calm song. I wasn't like, jamming out or anything. And but yeah, it's
help
just
them relax,
it just
probably.
It just comes to your heart, and you just kind of put it out there, and that's super neat. Can you tell us about your papa? So he's a commander. That's a big deal. Tell us a little bit about him.
So he was military, and he got a call saying the commander at Berlin Tempelhof Air Base has lung cancer. He needs to come home. We need you to go over there. And he had been there and had been in the home that we would live in. And there was a big bar. And he said, I've got kids coming and teenagers. And if I come, you have to take the bar out. And they said, oh, we'll get back to you. And so he told my mom, I think we're safe. But they called back and said, we'll take the bar out. So we went when I was in ninth grade. he was the commander of the air base there for 4 years. That was the longest a commander had been there. The people left him because he was the Berlin candy bomber. So they knew him already from when airlift at the blockade, the Russian blockade of Berlin. After World War II, he was a pilot and he flew cargo planes. And he was in World War II in South America. And when the airlift came along, where we were going to supply the Berliners that were stranded in the city, Berlin was divided in the east and the west. West Berlin was free. The Russians governed East Berlin, because that was part of the agreement after World War II. The area, Berlin was split with the French, the Russians, the British, and the Americans. So we were in the American sector. And they knew my dad already because of him being the candy bomber. He dropped parachutes with candy to the kids of West Berlin. And there's a story about that. They would fly in 2 or 3 missions every day into Berlin from Frankfurt, from Rhine-Main. And one day he saw some kids standing at the end of the runway, and he took the time off. He didn't sleep. He took the time off to go tour Berlin because he thought he wasn't going to be there very long, that the airlift was going to end soon. And he saw those kids at the end of the fence of the airport watching the planes come in. So he went to talk to them. There were about 30 kids there. Some of them spoke some English. And they said, in the winter, it's going to be hard because of the snow and the fog and everything, but don't give up. We appreciate this. And they said, sorry, this emotional, but the kids said they knew what freedom was. And they said, just bring us some, just enough to get by. But if we lose our freedom, we'll never get it back. And they knew, what they were facing with the Russians and communism. And they gave my dad a lesson on freedom. And so he had to go back to the Jeep, to go back to the plane. And he turned to leave. And he liked to carry gum in his pocket. So he had 2 sticks of gum in his pocket, and a little voice said to him, "Give the kids your gum." And he said, "No." He thought, "No, there'll be a big fight, and I don't have enough for all the kids." And again, "Give the kids your gum." So he went back to the fence, and he cut the pieces of gum in half, passed them through the fence. There was no fight. The kids broke off pieces, and they shared, and the kids that didn't get any, they smelled the wrapper. And their eyes were big. They hadn't had any gum or candy for 2 years. And so he thought, wow, I could make these kids happy, And whenever he lived in Garland, he dropped candy on parachutes to his friends when he was flying by, like for a friend for a birthday. And he practiced dropping parachutes off of the roof of their barn with rocks. And so it wasn't unfamiliar to him. So he said to the kids, "Be here tomorrow and I'll drop you some gum and candy." They didn't tell a soul. And the 30 kids showed up the next day. And when he flew over the fence, he dropped parachutes with gum and candy on them. And he said, "Yeah, if you'll share, then we'll drop the candy." And they said, "Jawohl, yes, we'll share." So that took off. He got in a little bit of trouble with the commander. Somebody took a picture of parachute dropping, because he did it again, parachute dropping over West Berlin, and it almost hit a reporter in the head. And the reporter took a picture of the airplane, and it has his tail number on it. So the commander came on and said, someone came on the airplane and said, "Who's flying this plane?" And they all pointed to my dad, and they said, "Halvorsen, get off the plane. Colonel Hahn wants to speak to you." And Colonel Hahn said, "What have you been doing, Halvorsen?" He said, "Flying like crazy, sir." And he said, "I'm not stupid." you almost hit a German reporter in the head with a parachute with candy. We didn't know anything about it. But General Tenor says, keep doing it. That's good. But keep me informed. So that's something he could have gotten court-martialed of. I mean, but that was kind of like what he was. He was, how can I help other people without...
A deep caring for others. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. So...
What a cool legacy.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Have you
so
carried that?
Story.
It seems like you, knowing you for a while, I get a sense of that you can feel that from you as well as a nurse practitioner. We both have that same value, that same resonance where we just love people and caring for them.
You care about how they feel and you take it seriously. You don't blow it off and you feel things with them.
Yeah.
And you mourn with them.
Yeah. You feel things and mourn with them. That is so true. I think we sometimes don't talk enough about that, and we don't create enough space in healthcare, time-wise, but also just space to take those tender moments and be there. And we have had some intense moments with our clients, our patients, our families, these loved ones, and man, it's so nice to. One of our missions, right, at Voyage Clinics is to create more of that, more time, more space, more opportunity to really connect and really care for people. And we're so excited for you in joining our team and things, but really just excited to create that space for you to care for people in the way that you want to.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you can take the time with patients and really get to know them and make them not feel rushed, and just give the time that they need. Yeah, it's good.
Tell us more about your journey. So then from there you went to nursing school you pivoted from music to nursing at BYU, and then finished a nursing degree, went and worked as an RN probably for a duration.
I worked for an RN as an RN for a year in the hospital, and then I went back for nurse practitioner program, and I worked at the MTC in Provo, Missionary Training Center.
Really? Oh,
that was fun. And I worked at the BYU Health Center.
Oh, yeah.
And I worked for Revere Health for many years, and Health and Vitality. And
cool. How have you maintained your integrity in this journey? I remember as a younger doc, I went to Moab, and that was wonderful. I could really kind of control that care piece a little bit more. Like, yes, the healthcare system is broken, and yes, I'm getting whipped through more patients per hour, which I don't love. But I felt like I could at least control that to some degree in a rural setting. I only had one administrator to answer to, and she was great to work with for the most part. And but when I moved here, I took a job there with that corporate conglomerate, and they wanted me to whip through a lot of patients per day, a lot more than I was comfortable. That would help me resonate with my core value of caring for people. I was like, whoa, I don't know that that's real care. It's not something I'm comfortable doing. And they said, well, that's fine. You'll just take a huge pay cut. And I thought, gosh, surely you can make this work, right? Like, come on. But they wouldn't. And so I quit and started Voyage Clinics in an effort to kind of protect that. But you were in that slog for a long time. And what was it that helped you maintain your sense of that core value? You were able to maintain your sanity. I was burning out. I was like, wow, this is not it. I need to change. And it was neat because it forced change in me and in the system a little bit. But I can't imagine working. I think BYU maybe was a lot more reasonable kind of working there. MTC was definitely outside of the typical traditional thing. But yeah, tell us some tips and tricks that you might have that helped you along your journey there.
Well, I think if you look at each person, that you care for them. And I think that kind of helps you carry through because you're dealing with people with issues. And I think maybe the caring about them and about their health and having good outcomes, I think I think that kind of can carry you through.
Yeah. just connecting with them and just recognizing that,
And wanting to do a good job.
Yeah.
And wanting to be able to answer their questions and address their issues.
Yeah. What were the parts that you didn't like of the system that kind of maybe pulled you in a direction to join us at the clinic?
And it might be that same thing, if you're working for insurances, you have to chart a certain way and include certain things and see as many as you can as fast as you can. And I like to spend time with my patients and not feel quite so rushed.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think there are so many people like you and me who are just stuck on that system, and they truly are ethical humans. Like I think we're trying to do the best we can with what we have, but we're often in that corporate model necessitated to see 6, 7, 8 patients an hour, and it really makes it difficult to continue to feel like you're doing a good job with some of that stuff.
Or to feel like you know them.
Yeah, or feel like you connect with them and have time to hold space. And I can tell you, having done this for 7 years, it is so satisfying. It is so good I know all of my clients like family. I care for them like family. And it's just really, really rewarding. Like, I feel like I'm a doctor again. I feel like I'm back to doing medicine for the reasons why I went into medicine.
Like a country doc, right?
I'm a country guy. I grew up in a really rural setting, and like just taking good care of good people. And one of my that tender story. One of my clients, she was like late 30s, and he had an end-stage colorectal cancer, pretty rare. We're seeing colorectal cancer earlier and earlier, which is why the screening guidelines have changed to age 45 now. But this guy was younger than that, and he had a young family, 2 young kids and a wife. And I had started my direct primary care a couple of years at Voyage Clinics, and they had been clients of mine for a couple of years. In fact, I was a guest on their podcast back then. They had a really good podcast. It's kind of a natural, neat podcast. And I remembered when he was on hospice at home. She was caring for him at home, and he was dying. And we have 2 little kids and a wife, and I knew them all very, very well. And she texted me one afternoon and said, "I'm just feeling overwhelmed." And I called her and I said, "What's going on?" And we kind of talked it through, and it's hard like that. She's like, "I don't know what I should be doing medicine-wise." The nurse came out and kind of explained it to me, but I'm just overwhelmed. So I said, "Well, no problem. I'll be right there." And so I drove to her house, and we just sat together and talked, and I talked to the kids and petted their big dog, and then just kind of listened to her a lot, and then we set up all of her meds and got that all structured, and she knew what to give when and how. But she was able to relax off of that super stress state and really then understand what to do with the medications and and how to deal with this, the death of her husband,
That's hard.
Super hard. And it had metastasized to his lungs, and he had a really hard time breathing. And so we talked about how to help with some of those things. And it ended up being very beautiful and rewarding. And I've done hospice for 4 years in Moab. I was a hospice medical director. And so it was an old hat for me that I knew very well. And so I felt like I could help them navigate those waters. But to do it in such a unique way was really satisfying. Like that, did I get paid extra for that? No. Did I get paid at all for that? No. Because they're members of the Voyage Clinics, right? And I can go above and beyond when it is necessitated. I don't do house calls for everybody, but boy, was it needed at that time. And so, I don't know. I just think it's so neat to rework the healthcare equation and to create something totally different that allows us freedom to just be human, right? Like this
And
was the
care for
human
each
thing.
other.
This was the most caring human thing that I could do. If I were stuck on the insurance game, you'd have to like bill that and code that and send it back to somebody and figure out how to, and it creates all this silliness where, gosh, I'll be right there. I'll be right there. And so, I just love it. I love the clinic, and I'm so excited that you're joining us. That's going to be so cool.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Can you speak to some of your areas of expertise? Like what areas do you have a passion for? And you're a family nurse practitioner, so I'm a family physician, and so we do a lot of things for a lot of people, and everything from women's health to I like sports things. I like lots of dermatology. I do lots of everything. I delivered babies for a long time, and so there's a lot of things I do. But I want to hear about you. What are things that you like to do? I mean, probably similar stuff that I do, plus some.
Yeah, it's just over the years, just some interests that have kind of developed would be women's health, of course, because often women want to see women, and they tend to understand a little better what's going on emotionally and things with women.
I'm a total caveman. Just kidding. No, but so, yeah, totally.
Yeah, yes. Women's health, and then I got into bioidentical hormones for women and for men, and have seen over quite a few years that the difference that can make in your life and how you feel and in your bone density and memory and things like that, just overall health. So I do a lot of that, and got interested in part of that was fatigue and thyroid and managing that, and osteoporosis.
Yeah.
Just because I had low bone mass, and I learned about it more, and I started going to these conventions and things, and did their certification programs. But
cool.
Helping people prevent osteoporosis and also managing osteoporosis.
Yeah.
Weight loss, did do a bunch of that.
Yeah.
So just, things like that.
Well, and you do a bunch of everything else. It's hard to just kind of break it all down as a family provider of healthcare. I love it. I think your expertise, we do a fair amount of bioidentical hormone replacement therapy as well. But I think that adding that layer, like you said, females like to talk to females, and you have a unique perspective that I will never have, right? I don't have ovaries, I don't have a uterus. And so just having been there, done that, I think it'll be super neat. I'm really excited about some of the perspective that you'll bring to our clients too.
Yeah.
If you had a message to share to your current clients, like what would you tell them? It's kind of a different model. It's like, whoa, what do you mean? Like a membership thing? And it is different than insurance. And so sometimes that's a bit of a snafu for people, because they're like, wait, what? Like a membership? We try to be as lean and affordable as possible for people and bring a lot of value to that price point. So what they pay per month, they usually get more care than they pay for. And that's our mission, is really lots and lots of really good care. Mm-hmm. We do telehealth, video chat, and so those will be access points that you will have for your clients. No additional fees or charges or copays or anything to worry about when they connect with you. Those are some of the upside, and being able to spend the time that you want to spend with them. Our typical office visits are 30 to 60 minutes, and so you can really get into it. What would you tell your clients, your current patients and stuff that have been with you for a long time, like as you navigate these waters, any messages that you have for them here?
Just that we can provide good care and spend the time with them, the time that they need, and help them with their challenges.
It's beautiful. It's affordable. It's sustainable, not just for them, for you, and also for our country. I think we're part of a national movement of people trying to really fix healthcare. We have negotiated pricing on labs, imaging, pathology, on all these things that, they're cheaper than people using their insurance, And then it's also liberating to know that to check their thyroid is $5, like $5.
It's pretty good.
To check their estrogen is $8. Like when they know the price of things, they don't ever have to worry, is my insurance going to cover this? Mm-hmm. If we run those two labs through insurance, it's $50 to $150. And sometimes they don't cover that. So
hormones can be expensive.
Hormones can be really expensive.
Checking those.
Our mission is to provide affordable, transparent care to people and really beautiful care. And you resonate beautifully with our mission, which is why we're so excited for you. Well, I just think in closing, I want to say thank you so much for joining us, and both on this podcast, but also in Voyage Clinics. And thanks for sharing your journey and your tender stories about your papa and about your life. Really beautiful. What was his favorite song that you sang at his?
Oh, Shenandoah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and also You Are My Sunshine.
Okay. That's beautiful.
My kids know that song and they sing it to their kids.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
What a great legacy to pass on the music.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, thanks again for coming on. Do you have anything else in closing to share? Just
that, we want to do our best and to provide the best care that we can and help people feel better.
That's it. Beautifully said. Well, thank you. And thanks for chiming in or joining in on our podcast today. Hope you got to know Marilyn a little better. She's awesome. And we're so excited to have her. And thanks. That's it.